So I want to give you a little overview of the workflow that we're going to use in this course and just show you a little bit about writing some code. And I'm working in WebStorm here, and we'll learn about editors in a moment. And this is all just a preview, and we're going to learn about everything I show you in more depth. But first thing I'm going to do is create a directory and just call it 001 workflow example. And I'm using underscores and dashes here instead of spaces. Good idea not to use spaces when naming folders or files on the web. And also using lowercase characters. Some servers have case sensitivity. And so if I'm mixing my own case up, I might make a mistake. But if I keep it all lowercase, I know, cool, it's all lowercase. And I'm not going to create any issues with a server which has case sensitivity issues. So I create that new directory. And then I'm going to create a new HTML file. And I'm opening this up by right-clicking and getting that context-sensitive menu. And then create a new HTML file. I'm going to call it index. Index is like the default name, the most common name for the main file in a web program. And so we'll go with that traditionally. Hit enter. And notice it gave it an HTML extension. And now I have the basic setup of a web page. And web pages are made of tags. And so here is a paragraph element, right? And there is a paragraph tag. And so the tag is like there's the opening tag and the closing tag. And so I could say, hey, an anatomy of an HTML element. There we go. And I might think, well, instead of that being a paragraph, because I could preview this, come up here, and in WebStorm you get these little choices for different browsers. I could preview that, and it says an anatomy of an HTML element. That's okay, but maybe I want this to be H1, so I changed that to a heading. And so now it's H1 here and H1 here. This is the opening tag, and then this is the closing tag right there. So opening and closing. And a lot of tags have an opening tag and a closing tag, and whatever you put in between them is what's what's those tags are containing. And some tags are self-closing tags. So for instance, an image tag, img, is a self-closing tag, right? And you no longer need this slash right there. You could just take that out and it's fine. You can just do an image tag like that. I'll also put in an image here. So I have an H1 and I'll put in an image. I'm going to go up a level. I'm right here. So I'm in this folder. So I'm going to come out of this folder and that'll put me into that folder. And that's how you do that with the ... /. So now I'm right here and I want to go into 03. And then I'm going to go into pick, and then I'm going to choose that pick to show. So 003, and I could hold down Control Spacebar, and that fills it in in WebStorm. And you'll learn all this. And then I'm going to do pick, and then I'm going to do anatomy, and there we go. So and then here's the alt text. And so these little things here, these are called attributes, and here's the value, right? So this is another attribute, and the value would be HTML anatomy, HTML element anatomy. So now when I preview this, I have this heading 1, and then I have this image that got put in. And you can see the things that we were just learning. So here's the paragraph tag and the attribute with its value and the closing tag, right? So that's like a little bit of an introduction. I say, okay, hey, I really like this. And so in WebStorm, I don't need to save my files, but now I'm like maybe ready to put this onto GitHub. And we'll learn about GitHub. But to put it onto GitHub, I'm going to open my terminal. So now I'm going to go into the folder which I'm in, which is documents, and then HTML, CSS, and I could list to see what's in there, and then into 001 workflow example. Actually, I don't need to go into that folder, but right now I could do a git status, and it'll show me, hey, I've added a file and modified some files. So I'm going to do git add -- all to add all those changes, and then git commit and a message to it, and adds 001 workflow example. So I give it a little message. We'll learn what all this means in a second. Then I push that up there. And so I put all that up onto GitHub now. You can see, okay, it's put up onto GitHub. So if I came over to GitHub, and I go to my account, and then I go into the HTML and CSS training, I have that code here on GitHub, which is pretty cool. And so if I ever want to share that with somebody or show it to them, I could just point them to this URL and they have access to it. So that's a little bit of a preview of the workflow of creating web pages and using GitHub to help sort of keep track of our work and then also to share our work with others. And like I said, it's just a preview, just showing you a little bit of what we're going to be learning and the workflow that we'll be using as we go through the course.